Hey, what's up, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back with a My 2 cent Switch/gaming video. But for this one, since we're coming close to the end of the year, and obviously we'll be looking forward to New Year's Eve and all that stuff, I'm going to be taking a look at 2018 in terms of gaming, in terms of what was good, controversial, and mixed, and bad. And we had some interesting stuff this year though, so, or at least these are the ones that I thought were good, controversial, and mixed. So we'll get started off with the good as well, and we'll start off with the first one. And this one will cover, the first one I'm going to cover is Nintendo, and I will say Nintendo certainly had a good year for as far as regarding the Nintendo Switch goes. I'll get to my reasons on at part 2 why I give it a controversial and mixed. The first one obviously is basically several games that came out this year that certainly did very well. While other games like, say, Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, Mario Tennis Ace, Kirby Star Alliance, and even some third-party games like Monster Hunter Generation X or Triple X or something like that, or 2X's, or Double Cross, I think that's it, also did well. These are the games I thought that got the most attention, that I thought did very well this year for the Nintendo system. We'll start off with the first one, and that is, of course, Octopath Traveler. That one, of course, was announced back when Nintendo did a presentation in January of 2017 as one of the games coming to the Nintendo Switch. Title at the time, Project Octopath Traveler, before settling on the name of just Octopath Traveler indeed. And certainly that game did very well, at least according to Square Enix. A lot of people enjoyed that old school JRPG look and feel to it. I certainly enjoyed it though. I like some of the stuff they put in that game. Some of the other stuff I wasn't 100% thrilled of, but it was definitely a fun and enjoyable RPG on the Nintendo Switch indeed. And it's very interesting because now we're hearing that, or at least several reports have come out that indicate that Square Enix may do more games similar like that onto the Nintendo Switch, with rumors going around that possibly a Bravely Default 3 could be coming to the Nintendo Switch. And if that turns out to be true, though, hopefully they'll port the first and second Bravely Default and have that come to the Nintendo Switch. But certainly Octopath Traveler was certainly a success for Square Enix. They were probably happy with that. Nintendo also had some success as well, while some of their other games, like ports of like Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, Mario Tennis Ace, the ones that I mentioned, did very well. 2 of their titles really certainly obviously did well for them, and that was, of course, the Pokemon Let's Go and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. There are several articles on these stuff I've mentioned. I'll have a link in the description. Some of them have articles, some of them don't. But obviously Nintendo has to be very happy, as both those games did perform very well and supposedly met their expectations, at least according to Nintendo. Despite the fact that supposedly Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee were supposedly review bombed by some people, at least that's the claim, to the fact that not everyone felt like it wasn't a traditional mainline Pokemon. But nevertheless, it certainly sold well and made a lot of money for Nintendo, especially with Super Smash Bros. Ultimate that came out. That was sort of the big game this year for Nintendo, for the Nintendo Switch. That certainly sat very well with a lot of consumers, although there is certainly some issues with the online part that not everybody is thrilled about, at least their online situation. Speaking of online, Nintendo also basically changed their YouTube policy. Now, in the past, in the past, they basically had this policy in terms of regarding any gameplay footage of their games. So they had, they would content ID or put a copyright claim on any video that showed off gameplay footage of their game, including music or so on, to the point where they introduced the Content Creators Program that was very controversial and didn't sit very well with a lot of people. While it certainly wasn't illegal for them to put a Content Creators Program or anything like that, though it really isn't. It is their IP. They could do that if they want to. I can understand not everybody was a big fan of it at all. To be exact, and then there were plenty of YouTubers that weren't happy with this, though. some ranging from Angry Joe, although there were certainly debates over whether he had grounds to actually sue Nintendo over them content ID or content ID his videos, to Jim Sterling. Whether you love him or hate him, I agree with him on certain things, I disagree with him on other things. Basically doing what is often viewed as the copyright deadlock, where basically he would put music or other stuff from other videos, therefore preventing Nintendo from taking any money he made, any money that Jim Sterling made off of his videos. Nintendo taking money away from Jim Sterling and basically blocking them as well and all that stuff. It's sort of an odd thing, but nevertheless, he did that as well. And apparently Nintendo decided to change all that, and they changed their policy for good, and obviously a lot of people are very pleased with this, though. So I'm glad that Nintendo has changed their YouTube policy. I think that is a good thing indeed. I'm not, again, them doing their content creator program, it wasn't illegal, but I can understand people's frustration towards it, so I'm glad that they changed that. So some good things Nintendo did. Over at Sony, though, obviously Sony certainly had a good year, with especially 2 games that I thought sold really well for the PlayStation. The first one obviously is that just recently came out, Spider-Man, that proved to be a very good game, and I enjoyed it as well. I viewed it as the second Spider-Man game since Spider-Man 2. And of course, God of War did extraordinarily well, and that continues to do very well in the NPD charts. And I think God of War, along with games like Spider-Man and Octopath Traveler, did prove a couple of things. Excuse me. Along with Red Dead Redemption. Octopath Traveler obviously shows that your game doesn't have to have all the graphical bells and whistles, while God of War show that put it in the hands of the right developers, you can basically have a game that not only looks good, but plays good as well. But the big thing they showed is that you can have a game that is a single player, doesn't have to be a live service, doesn't have to have microtransaction, and doesn't have to have DLCs, although if handled correctly, DLCs are not a bad thing, if they're handled correctly, and yet they could still sell very well. I mean, Red Dead Redemption 2 right now is currently at number 1 on the NPD charts when they released the November one. God of War still is on there as well. So obviously it still shows that those games still show that single player games are still very, very important indeed. And the whole idea that single player games are dead, is a load of crap. I mean, honestly, it is a big load of crap. So obviously Sony and Nintendo certainly had a good year as well. Microsoft did as well, especially with their E3 2018, where they actually, for that time, basically showed that yes, we are serious about single-player games, and we are serious about the Xbox brand. Now, obviously, time will ultimately tell if they have truly learned their lessons after the way they handled the Xbox One in the first place. You know, the infamous, if you don't have internet connection, we have a system for you, and that is the Xbox 360. And obviously, they wanted to prove and show that we are very serious about it. Now, they are buying up studios and so forth, and we'll have to wait and see if these studios will produce quality first-party titles or second-party titles for the Xbox, and see if this is enough to push people to trust the Xbox brand again, though. Obviously, Phil Spencer, of course, has certainly turned things around for the Xbox brand, and certainly put the Xbox One in a better position than it was when it's originally launched. So this was definitely an E3 that Microsoft really needed to show to basically get people to interested in the Xbox brand again. We'll have to wait and see if this all pays off, and we'll see how this will do once the PlayStation 5 and whatever the next Xbox is called. But overall, for their E3 showing this year, obviously Microsoft had a good E3. And of course, Capcom did have a good year with Monster Hunter World. That certainly, continues to perform very well. And with the recent release of it onto the PC, it's basically, from what I understand, has so far, I think, sold 10 million copies. So certainly they gotta be happy, and hopefully this is a sign that the Monster excuse me, the Monster Hunter series continues to be a success. We also had, the Monster Hunter game on Nintendo Switch, even though that was a port of Monster Hunter Generation. And while that game isn't the game isn't as approachable as, say, Monster Hunter World, which is more aimed towards casuals, though, that one did perform very well as too. Maybe not on the same level as Monster Hunter World, but supposedly, I believe Capcom was pleased with that game. And then, of course, Red Dead Redemption 2. We can't ignore that game. That game, I'm still playing that. I'm hoping to get a review of that soon. But that game certainly did very well for Rockstar. Especially, I think, getting off on its, first week, it sold they made like $725 million off of it. So obviously, Rockstar has got to be happy with that game. So there was certainly some good stuff this year for 2018. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to get to part 2, and this one's going to be the controversial and the mixed part. What I thought I had mixed feelings about for this year to what I thought was kind of controversial for 2018 in terms of gaming. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of our My 2 Cent video for the look back at both the good, controversial, mix, and the bad. So why don't we get started with the second part, which is obviously the controversial and the mix. And there were certainly some controversies that came out, at least for gaming in 2018. We'll start off with the first one I want to point out, and that is Devil May Cry 5. Now, not saying I have anything against Devil May Cry 5 or anything like that. It definitely is a title that I am looking forward to trying out in 2019. I'm hoping that it's as good as, say, Devil May Cry, the first one, Devil May Cry 1, or Devil May Cry 3. Wasn't really a big fan of Devil May Cry 2, although I don't hate it as much as I used to. Devil May Cry 4 was alright, not perfect, but still enjoyed that one. And yes, I did enjoy Ninja Theory's Devil May Cry game, DMC. I look at it as the same way as Devil May Cry 4. Again, I think it's better than Devil May Cry 2, but not as good as the first or Devil May Cry 3. So I'm definitely looking forward to Devil May Cry 5. That said, there was a bit of controversy when it became later learned that Devil May Cry 5 will have microtransactions, and not everybody seems to be down with it. So Capcom has come out, stated that, they're optional and all that stuff. And while it is possible it could be like that, like it is with Assassin's Creed Odyssey in a way, I've played that game and I haven't found myself in a situation where I want to spend money on any microtransaction. That's not to say the controversy is going to go away for that. And in an era where we have seen developers that have gotten greedy over it, hello EA and Star Wars Battlefront 2 with the whole loot box controversy, or Destiny 2 to be exact, you can see why some people are very much uncomfortable with the idea of microtransactions in $60 games to be exact. And that controversy is not going away, and I can understand why some people may not be pleased with this at all, though. Again, same thing, like I said with Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I didn't find myself in a situation where I had to spend money, but I'm not ignoring the criticism about it. I can understand why people are upset about it, and that some developers, like I said, tend to get a little bit too greedy on this part. So as much as I'm looking forward to Devil May Cry 5, I can understand why not everybody is a fan of the decision by Capcom to add microtransactions into the game. They also have a bit of a controversy where they're supposedly putting in-game advertisement in Street Fighter 5, and that's not sitting well with a lot of people. The next thing I do want to talk about is Red Dead Redemption 2, which did get itself in a bit of controversy as well. Two things to be exact. Now, when it comes to games from Rockstar has a history of putting out games that tend to be controversial. We saw cases with games like, of course, the Grand Theft Auto series has also been known to be controversial, including Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, and what, if I'm saying the name correctly, the so-called hot coffee controversy, to State of Emergency. Remember that game back in 2002 over, about, the riots and all that stuff. And, well, Red Dead Redemption didn't escape this controversy. However, there were two to be exact, or three. One had to do with the comment about people, in working conditions and all that stuff that do want to put in that, extra hours and all that stuff, or the way Rockstar presented it kind of gave the impression that these people don't go home, who spend times with their families and all that stuff. The two that I'm talking about, one that is on Rockstar and one that isn't. The first one has to do with Red Dead Online, where it was recently discovered about, at least with the beta, where they have put in sort of microtransactions in that game in the whole issue with golden bars, where you can either speed up the process or to get guns in the game that are woefully way too expensive, and supposedly the payout for it doesn't seem to be like, if like one costs like say $100, you might not get enough money to buy the gun, to be exact, although many claim that a gun that costs $100 back in the day costs like $35 and all that. So some people are not happy about that, and Rockstar is claiming that they are adjusting and fix it. We'll have to wait and see once, supposedly, assuming they're done with the beta for Red Dead Online. I haven't tried it out yet or anything like that. The other controversy has to do with what a YouTuber did in terms of taking some gameplay footage. Now, supposedly it has to do with the fact that in one scene during the game, you run into a woman who speaks about, her right to votes and all that stuff, considering this takes place in 1899 during the time of the women's suffrage as well. And it showed Arthur pointing a gun at her, or basically throwing her into the pits of alligators, or leaving her on a train tracks and all. And it sort of sparked some bit of a controversy, especially with some of the comments saying that they would like to see this turn into a DLC, to some of them saying take that feminist, and all that stuff, and to the point that YouTube had to shut down his channel over this. And then there was a bit of an outcry against YouTube doing this that led to him to reinstate his channel, but put sort of like a description or saying that his videos won't be monetized or anything like that. Now, I said this before, probably in a previous video, and I still stand behind what I said about this. I certainly don't agree with some of the comments about, say, those especially attacking feminists and all that stuff. It's one of, and I don't take the whole feminazi or SJW seriously as much, because I've seen how that card's been played one too many times, though. And I don't exactly agree with his, I may not 100% agree with his content in his videos, but I'm stopping short in saying that his channel should be banned, considering that technically you can do this in the game. I mean, anybody can go up or, point a gun at any non-play NPC character, tie them up, or do anything you want to. I mean, it is an open world game. Do I think it's poor taste? In a way, yes, but I don't believe his channel should have been banned. I mean, since you could do this in a video game and all that stuff, I don't see him having his channel being banned over this. I think it's poor taste, but I don't think his channel should have been banned. So there was sort of a bit of a controversy with that one, though. Will say YouTube was probably not, I didn't think they were in the right on this one, to be exact. The next one I do want to talk about is Nintendo Switch, and how I felt like Nintendo, this was kind of off year for them. Now, before I begin, I do want to state for the record, I'm not saying that the Switch is nowhere near the level as, say, what the Wii U was. Unlike with the Wii U, we faced something what I like to refer to as the dreaded drought, where there were droughts and we had to wait for games to come to the system, and it took a while. It took a while for a lot of these games to come over. So we certainly are not facing that kind of situation with the Nintendo Switch. And I will say, at least as far as third-party support for the system goes, it's certainly better. It's certainly better than it is to the Wii U. I do think there are areas that could be improved, but it's certainly way better than it was during the Wii U era. But having said that, though, I can't help but feel that this year was kind of off year for Nintendo, particularly with the Nintendo Switch. I felt as though, compared to last year to be exact, I felt that a lot of games, although fun, like Kirby Star Alliance and Mario Tennis Ace and Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, although fun, it wasn't the same as it was last year with games like Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle, or say like Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, or Super Mario Odyssey, or even Fire Emblem Warriors though. Although, again, I like Hyrule Warriors, I'm glad they brought that back, brought that to the Nintendo Switch to be exact. And even some of their presentation at E3, I felt it wasn't the worst presentation they had at E3, but it wasn't their best one either. It felt more like Smash Brothers E3. In fact, I felt like that was their big push for this year. Their big push was just Super Smash Brothers Ultimate, which, again, if you're a diehard Smash Brothers fan, that hobby is great, but if you're not, it just felt lacking. Even the Game Awards presentation kind of felt a little bit lacking. That's not to say it wasn't bad or anything. I mean, the fact that we're getting Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 for the Nintendo Switch as an exclusive is pretty amazing, but I will say I just felt this year just felt like an off year for Nintendo, though. So it'll be very interesting to see how 2019 plays out. Hopefully it's good. Some people are saying 2019 will be amazing, but we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully we'll hear more about it, and I do hope we get to see Metroid Prime 4 or Bayonetta 3 for the Nintendo Switch in 2019. Well, again, we'll have to wait and see on that one. And last but not least, in terms of the controversial mix, it has to do with a new game policy that Sony has implemented, though. Now, Sony did run into some controversy in 2018 as well. They weren't immune to it of 2018. Obviously, the first one most people will know about is the infamous cross-platform controversy, where Sony would not allow cross-platform, especially with a game like Fortnite, that kind of upsetted some people. And while I understand it is Sony's system, they could do what they want to, I do feel that if a developer wants to make their game cross-platform, then they should have the right to do so. I mean, Sony doesn't have to make their game cross-platform if they don't want to. That's fine. That's their decision. But if a developer wants to make it cross-platform, I say let them make it cross-platform. So it certainly got a lot of people's attention, and eventually Sony changed some of their policy a little bit, at least with Fortnite for now. Though we'll have to wait and see if other games will be affected by it. But the new policy they have is a new global policy that supposedly sort of tones down some of the content in some games. And this has to do with games that have, like innuendo or sexual content that may be deemed inappropriate. This has an impact on some games, like the Serene Kagura series, that's a remake of the first game on the 3DS, is going to have some impact on this. Some games, I know one developer is canceling one game that they were planning to bring to the PlayStation 4, but due to Sony's new policy, they are basically canceling that to the upcoming release of Dead or Alive Extreme 3 Scarlet, coming to the PS4 and Nintendo Switch, is basically going to tone down some of the, or at least from what I understand, will tone down some of the bathing suits for the ladies in Dead or Alive Extreme 3 Volleyball Scarlet for the PS4. Meanwhile, Nintendo somehow is not only going to have sort of a uncensored version, but are going as far as promoting the 4D jiggly effects into the game. So it kind of blows my mind that Sony is enforcing a certain policy in terms of certain suggestive theme or explicit sexual content in some of the games, while Nintendo, a company that's known to be that, or at least has earned the image of being, family friendly and all, is allowing an uncensored version of Dead or Alive Extreme 3 Scarlet. So, I mean, I understand, again, it's Sony, they can choose to enforce this policy if they want to. There's nothing illegal about it. I just don't 100% agree with their decision. I feel like a developer should be able to make whatever game they want to make, and consumers can decide whether they like the content or not. So I'm not a big fan of Sony's decision. It will be very interesting to see how this impacts certain games going forward, and whether or not this will have a big impact for Sony going forward, especially with the PS5, or if this will have basically little to no impact though. So again, it is Sony's policy. They have a right to do this, but I don't 100% agree with their decision to do this. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 3, and this one's going to be, of course, the bad. And there are 3 I could think of that were bad this year for gaming in 2018. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with our third and final part of our special My Choose Scent video. And for this one, about the good, the controversial, mixed, and the bad. So we're finally at the last part, so we'll get a look at the bad. And there are only 3 that, at least as far as I could think of, that I thought was bad for gaming in 2018. So we'll start off with the first one, and the obvious one is EA. Let's be honest, EA is pretty much hated by a whole lot of people though, and for justifiable reasons, considering a lot of their decisions that they made. And this year, unfortunately, was no exception though. First of all, their E3 was certainly, while it was certainly better than last year's, not everybody was interested in it, and the whole Command & Conquer rivalry part definitely did not sit well with a lot of people in any way. And I think that one just did not sit well with a whole lot of people. In fact, a lot of people downvoted it, and even EA's justifiable reason for what they did with it did not do well. But obviously the biggest one, of course, is Battlefield 5, which came out to supposedly lower than expectations for EA, to be exact, and a lot of it stems from the controversy, ranging from the fact that they had a British woman with a prosthetic arm in World War II, while one guy had a katana sword, to be exact. And while I will agree there are some people that made possibly inappropriate and sexist comments, I have to say EA certainly wasn't in the right either, considering that you were promoting this game as trying to be as historically accurate of World War II, to be exact, which, while I'm sure there were women that fought in World War II, and I'm sure that you could look them up, to be exact, I don't remember reading about a prosthetic armed woman fighting in World War II, and that certainly didn't sit well with everyone. Of course, EA's infamous, if you don't like it, don't buy it. Well, a lot of people took that seriously, and apparently their pre-orders were down by a lot, which forced them to delay the game in November. And even that did not exactly help, as many felt there were a lot of features missing, and not a lot of people enjoyed the beta. So obviously Battlefield 5 was not the success EA wanted it to be, and unfortunately this is on them. They shot themselves in the foot on this one. Again, I don't agree with some of the comments about, especially those who made the whole feminist or feminazi comment, but EA's by all means not off the hook on this. They basically added more fuel to the fire and just made the whole situation worse. Not only that, obviously we had basically Activision Blizzard, I should say 4 things, not 3 things on the bad part. You know, their infamous comment as well, especially with the whole Diablo Immortal, and then the famous, like, what, you guys don't have phones, to trying to delist that video, and then trying to change the likes or dislike, but got caught about that. So even they royally, pardon my language, royally fucked up though. So yeah, not great for EA, not great for Activision, or at least Blizzard, especially with BlizzCon 2018. The next one obviously is the whole Soulja Boy controversy. For those who are not familiar, there's a rapper named Soulja Boy who's basically releasing his own brand of consoles, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, considering that celebrities do sometimes endorse certain products. Though, I mean, look at Shaquille O'Neal. I mean, he's endorsing things like Gold Bond or Icy Hot or the 1-800-GENERAL's auto insurance, and other stuff as well. Whether you agree with them doing this or not, that's certainly open for debate, to be exact. But what Soulja Boy did was perhaps just downright stupid, and that's that the console he's promoting is basically not only a Chinese knockoff console, but excuse me, but the fact that there are Nintendo games on there, which there's a good chance he probably did not get permission to have on those systems. On top of that, he tried to basically said that he's not afraid of Nintendo until he later deleted his tweet, and given Nintendo going down hard on like a lot of people selling ROMs of their games without their permission. I think they went over recently against, I think, a couple in Southern California, to be exact. They're probably waiting to go after Soulja Boy on this. Again, it's just, what he did is just stupid, and was just stupid and idiotic, to be exact. I mean, again, I said this in another video, but if you want to create your own console to compete against Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo, there's nothing wrong with that. Just team up with a legitimate manufacturer to create your own console and compete against them. That's how capitalism and free market works. But to take a console that is technically not yours and happens to be a knockoff and try to pass it off as your console, not to mention having games in there that in reality you did not have permission to have games in there in the first place. Yeah, it's just stupid. And the thing is, I don't know which is worse. The fact that he's using a Chinese knockoff console and passing it off as his own, or the fact that he has games on there, particularly Nintendo games, without Nintendo's permission. So I don't know which one is worse, or maybe both of them are worse. But yeah, what Soulja Boy did was just, or that's the name of the rapper to be exact, did was just stupid and idiotic. And last but not least, and obviously this has to come on here as well, and that is Bethesda and Fallout 76. Now, just to be clear, I don't technically hate Bethesda, no. I do like a lot of the games they put out, though. I did enjoy Fallout 4. I know some people had issues with it, but I didn't have any, major issues with the game. I did enjoy Fallout 4. I do enjoy Skyrim. I know the whole joke of Skyrim being released on everything, and there is a legitimate criticism to that, but I do still enjoy Skyrim. I especially enjoy it on the Nintendo Switch, though, the idea that I could bring Skyrim with me on the go. I cannot ignore that. I enjoy Doom and Wolfenstein series. I have a lot of respect for those FPS shooters, and I would play them over a Call of Duty game any day. I do, and of course I enjoy, the Evil Within 1 and 2, and the Dishonored series to be exact. So I don't hate Bethesda, but there's no denying that Bethesda really screwed up with Fallout 76. Promoting this as a always online type of a game, claiming that they made some changes and all that stuff and all that, and when the beta came out, a lot of people were not pleased with it, and when the final game came out, it got hammered by everybody. It got hammered by reviewers, and it got hammered by user reviews, as many felt that this game, all they took was just assets from Fallout 4 and put it into this game. And there were reports of the game being broken, buggy, and a mess, although some people are claiming they haven't ran into that problem, though, but everyone's going to have a different view on that. To make matters worse, there was controversy over basically Bethesda releasing the game on PC, but not through Steam, but their own launcher that did not sit very well. The issue with the refund policy, to be exact, to certain features for the PC version. The controversy surrounding the Power Armor Edition that was supposed to come with a canvas bag, but it turns out to be, looks like a cheap nylon bag, or looks like something, or a bag that I use when I have to wrap into a garbage can at work, to be exact. There were issues that they ran out of materials, only to find out that they had canvas bags for basically for YouTube influencers to basically the gaming press. They said that they will basically give people the addition of, get them that canvas bag, only to find out that a glitch happened where some of their information may have been leaked, allowing people that could easily hack or change some of their information if you order the canvas bag. To now the latest edition, with is basically the Nuka-Cola rum or Nuka-Cola dark rum that turns out to be, it wasn't in the type of collector's bottle that they were advertising on, to the whole issue with the lawsuit to the possible lawsuit facing them by sort of a law firm in Washington, D.C. So Bethesda really screwed this up. And you know what the worst part about this, though, is that I'm worried what impact this could have on the upcoming release of games like Rage 2, with the PC version not being available on Steam. I believe it will be on their launcher like they did with Fallout 76. And Doom Eternal, though. I mean, these are two games I'm looking forward to. And I'm worried that the negative impact that Fallout 76 did, I'm worried that could have an impact on Rage 2 and Doom Eternal, and perhaps other games like Elder Scrolls 6 and Starfield. I am very worried that that negative impact with Fallout 76 could have ramifications where the sales of those games could bomb. And now it's too early to tell if that will happen anyway, but if it turns out that Rage 2 sells well below expectation, or bombs, or Doom Eternal, or any future game from Bethesda, don't be surprised if you have people point to how this happened because of Fallout 76. We saw how this played out with Assassin's Creed Unity after how horrible that game was handled by Ubisoft, and how that certainly impacted Assassin's Creed Syndicate, and pretty much had Ubisoft take sort of a year off with Assassin's Creed and give us Origins and Odyssey, which in my opinion are the better Assassin's Creed games, though far from perfect, but still definitely better than what Unity was, to what we saw with Gearbox's Battleborn, how that didn't perform very well, and many would point to Alien Colonial Marines as an example of why that game probably bombed and did not perform as well as Gearbox had hoped for, although releasing it close to Overwatch certainly didn't help either. So it does worry me, and I think Bethesda's really going to have to work hard to earn people's trust. They're not going into 2019 in a strong position, and if they have an E3 this year, assuming they do that, they're really going to have to convince people why they should be excited for what products they put out, though. I mean, it's a shame. Even if it's not Avalanche's fault that's working on Rage 2, of what Bethesda's stupidity with Fallout 76, or its software that's working on Doom Eternal, with Panic Button working on the Switch version, it could have an impact, and that's really sad. And as much as I like Bethesda, though, I cannot excuse them for what they did with Fallout 76. And honestly, I believe people have a right to be angry. They lied and misled to people about how great Fallout 76 was, and they basically they turned the whole situation into a PR nightmare with the Power Armor Edition, the Dark Nuka-Cola Dark, that situation, and the whole issue with the fact that their information, or people who are trying to get a canvas bag, their information may have been leaked. So, yeah, Bethesda really screwed up with Fallout 76. And honestly, they deserved a lot of the criticisms aimed towards them, though. As much as I like Bethesda, as much as I like them, they do deserve the criticism, especially how they handled the whole situation with Fallout 76. Okay, this concludes this My Two Cent video, or the special one, looking at both the good, controversial, mix, and bad of gaming in 2018. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? what are your thoughts about what you thought was good? What do you thought what's controversial and Mix, and what do you thought was bad though? Was there stuff there that I may have missed and you thought I should have covered in there? Do you agree with my list? Do you disagree with my list? Do you have a difference of opinions? As always, sound off on the comment section below. Let me know what you think, and I hope you hit that like button. I would appreciate it, and I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You could do it through PayPal me or Patreon. Links will be in the description of this video. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that will be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day then, and I hope you guys have a happy and safe New Year. Bye!